So Thomas, one of the things that I think a lot of people have a lot of opinions on, and they like to talk about it because it's such a creative, well, an area where you can be creative, is pattern interrupts. So maybe just before we get too deep into it, what are pattern interrupts and when do you use them?
Yeah, so pretty basically, a pattern interrupt is merely a statement or a question that you use to get the prospect out of that defensive mentality, right? Simply to interrupt their default response of saying, "No, I don't want to be on this call right away."
Yeah, when they
Um,
first pick up and they're like, "Oh man, a cold call," and they're in
yeah,
that frame of mind, it's to get them out of that.
yeah, it makes sense to start there, right? You see that number you don't recognize. You're in the middle of probably a million other things.
Hmm.
It's not something you want to take. It's not a call you want to take. And so you can end up in a position where you call someone and they immediately say no. They don't know why they're saying no. They just know that they don't want to be on the phone right now. So they
Hmm.
say, no, I don't have time for this. Um, a pattern interrupt is a useful way to stop that in its tracks before it gets out of hand here. So I think it makes sense maybe to go through some basic ones and then move through some variations and creative ideas on what we can do with pattern interrupts.
Yeah, I think for newbies and that kind of thing, they love probably the basics, and then even just getting like a little taste of some of the more complicated ones, and some
Mhm.
examples of those would be interesting as well.
Absolutely. So the first one we should mention is the Aaron Ross that we've all heard. We have to mention it. So simply it goes, "Hey, Adriel, thanks for taking my call. Have I caught you at a bad time?" What
Yes.
this is doing is it's starting in a position of respect.
Hmm.
It's also acknowledging that you've always caught somebody at a bad time.
Hmm.
There's no good time for a sales call or much of anything in most people's busy lives. So yeah, again, it's simple. Adriel, have I caught you at a bad time? It gives the
Hmm.
prospect an opportunity to say, yeah, actually, I am in the middle of something else right now. And then you can set up a time to call later, right?
Hmm.
You have them now expecting you to call. Um, I would say it's been used a lot. So sometimes you'll call a prospect, whether they're the CEO or the COO, and at some point in their career, they've maybe even used that line themselves. So you can get an eye roll. You can get an eye roll because they're
Mm,
now they're in the situation where they're saying, "Hey, yeah, this is a sales call, and I don't want to take it." And I've heard this line before a million times.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I do something a little different. I say simply, Adriel, do you have a minute to chat about sales automation, or should I call back another time? Right. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, the format there, simple. Hey, do you have a second to talk about this, or should I call back another time? If they say call back another time, perfect. Uh, Give a generic question again. Say, well, awesome. How does today sound? How does tomorrow sound? If tomorrow, instead of trying to pin down a specific time and get them kind of flustered thinking about when they can actually have that chat, again, something general like, hey, Israel, do you prefer mornings or afternoons? All right. You could add a little
Hmm.
humor in there again. You can say, how about midnight tomorrow? How does that sound? Right. Get a laugh. But ultimately
That's
getting
a
them
good one.
opening their scheduling books, right, to thinking ahead and saying, yeah, this guy, he's all right. He's going to call me tomorrow afternoon. And then
Yeah.
that's it. You follow through. You call and you say, "Hey, is now a better time?" And you go back and cycle through all over again.
Yeah, I like it. It's got choices in there, but both choices are still talking to you.
Hmm.
There's- you can
Absolutely.
be busy, but the
Yeah.
alternative is I call you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point, right? You set up the framework for the kinds of choices that can be made.
Hmm.
I'm gonna call you regardless, right? You just got to pick the time that you prefer.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
next one is another tried and tested one. It's the hey Adriel, can I have 27 seconds of your time? Can you think why 27 seconds?
Uh, because it's an odd time. It
Precisely.
interrupts the pattern.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like I did before where it's, hey, do you have a minute? Or hey, do you have 10 minutes, right? For this call. It's a weirdly specific time. And it just kind of gets you out of your pattern, interrupting your pattern, right? So
Hmm.
hey, you got 45 seconds for a call right now. You got 27 seconds. And that's the connect and sell method. Again, used quite frequently. Um, I will do something a little bit different. I'll say,
Hmm.
hey, Adriel, I'm going to be honest. I just need 45 minutes of your time. Right. Right. A really long amount of time. And hopefully you get some kind of a laugh. You make it a little bit uncomfortable. Hey, Adriel, thanks for taking my call. You got like an hour to talk right now. Um, yeah, that works out.
Those are both funny. I can't say I've got a cold call like that before.
Hmm.
Most of mine have been very generic, but I can't say that a lot of cold callers are using those techniques you're talking about.
Yeah, and it comes from just from using the techniques that we rely on, and then making a slight change to it, and trying to bring some levity into
Hmm.
the conversation. Because again, at the end of the day, as we always say, you're just one person having a conversation with another person, right? It doesn't have to be a very girded kind of conversation with a lot of structure to it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, a little bit more unorthodox would be something that I call stating the obvious, and it's simply, Adriel, this is a cold call. Do you want to hang up? Leave it at that. You just let them respond. Yeah. And sometimes
uh,
you'll get it. Yeah. I don't want to talk right now. Bye. And you'll hang up. But
uh,
usually what happens is I say, Adriel, this is a cold call. Do you want to hang up? And they'll say, well, that depends on what the cold call is about. And now that's an invitation to keep talking, right?
Interesting.
To ask
Interesting. Yeah.
another question. Yeah.
It's kind of a ballsy thing to do. It's I guess a more candid or more real kind of a conversation opener as well, right? Like
Hmm.
a lot of the cold calls that people get are just canned scripts that don't have any room for a little bit of friendly banter, a little bit of like realism up front.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes you get out of your comfort zone too, right? So you've put the prospect in a situation where they're having to respond to you because you just interrupted their day, and now they're playing this kind of role, right? And you likewise, you are making that call, adding a little bit of levity, adding a little bit of banter to it, getting more relaxed in the call. Can be a way to get both people out of those performative roles of person picking up the phone and person interrupting their
Mm,
day, right?
hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you've done your homework and you've found the right prospect, like your pitch should be a good pitch, anyways. You just need to make sure that
Yeah,
they're willing to listen and willing to hear it.
that's a great point, actually. Going into it with that confidence of saying, "Hey, I know I'm interrupting their day, but at the same time, I've done my homework, like you said. I know who I'm calling. I know why I'm calling, and I know what the
Hmm.
product is that I'm trying to pitch, right? And trying to get that demo booked, or whatever the sort of metric of success might be."
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Um, Another one that I like to use, I'll just call it charting the course. Really, this is opening the conversation, right? Acknowledging that it is a sales call, but setting limits on that. So it's something simple like, Adriel, can I have a minute of your time? After that, if you're interested, we can keep going for another minute, right? You could pick a time frame. It could be, again, you can make a joke. It could be any 20 minutes, go from there. It could be 37 seconds and continue. But whatever time frame that you pick, if it's a minute or if it's 27 seconds, roughly after that time has elapsed, say, hey, we've been talking for 27 seconds, Adriel. I want to hear more about this, though. Do you mind if we keep going? Right? And
Hmm.
you just keep asking permission to continue the conversation, right? Even if the conversation is obviously continuing down the right path, again, interrupt that pattern and then take back control of the conversation. Uh, right? So, Adriel, I love what I'm hearing. Let's keep going. How does another 27 seconds sound?
Yeah. Interesting. Kind of setting the way, kind of well, like you said, they're charting the
Charting the
course,
course.
or
Yeah.
yeah, setting out how the conversation's going to go, and then checking in every once in a while to make sure that we're going the right way. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it.
And at the end of the day, pattern interrupts are meant to be unexpected and creative. So be creative, be unexpected. And I think the things that worked yesterday might get an eye roll today. So you've got to
Mm.
keep revamping them and don't rely on them too much. Again, it's just to break the ice, right? It's really just to break the ice and get the conversation started. And then it will naturally go where it's going to go.